Everyone. My name is Isha and I am from Pune. I was in Korea for around 2 years doing my master's in computer engineering. But before that, I have started studying Korean since 2019. Before COVID, I was into K dramas and K pop. So I had a lot of fascination about the language. And when I used to see all those people on the screen talking in Korean, I was like, oh wow, how nice it would be to learn the language and actually talk to people. And I wanted to try living there for a few years. So I started learning Korean in 2019. And because of COVID, I had a little gap. So I started learning myself till the other classes started. And then eventually, after my bachelor's, I took admission in a Korean university in Seoul. It's called Dongguk University. And I went there to start my journey in Korea. So now I'll share my slide and I'll take you down the memory lane. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Visible?
yes.
Okay. So my life in Korea. So I took admission in, as I told you, Dongguk University in Seoul. But unlike other countries like UK, USA, all of them, these countries, they have these education consultancies, right? Through which we can get admission into the university easily. Like we give them the documents and they do the process. But for Korea, it's not the same case. For Korea, we don't have a lot of education consultancies. And there are a few, but they are also quite not sure about how to go around. So when you're taking admission, the easiest way is for you to do it yourself rather than getting a third party involved, which is what I did. So I went to the university's websites. I used to check like what university, which course is there. So I'm a computer major. So that's why I wanted something with computer engineering, computer science, or AI. So I went to different universities. So I applied for 5 universities. Koryote, then Yonsei, and Te means Teakyo, and Sungshil-te, Songguk-te, and Sogang-te. So I got into 2 universities. So they have this university guide for admission, and it's there in English also. So you have to check all the conditions properly. That is the course in English, and how are the fees, and how do you get admission. Then they provide you with all the documents list. You have to get them prepared. You have to get them apostilled, and then you submit it to the university via mail, and you have to fill the application form, of course, and then you get a interview or something with them. You give the interview, and after a few days you get your admission. Then you have to make the payment and you get into the university. So I got into Dongguk University master's course, which was for 2 years, and my whole course was in English, and when sorry, in Korean. So there was like no word of English. So when I went initially, I was a little flustered, like what to do. Oh my God, this is so much Korean. It was more than what I knew. So I started studying on my own, like the words which are important for the course, like technical words for computer language. And then I went through with it, and I did 2 years of all Korean course. Plus, I was learning the language on my own also. While staying there, you need to use the language regularly. So I did all of this in Korean. And at the end of your graduation, there is a Korean language exam which you have to give. Unless you give that, you cannot pass. Like you cannot graduate with your degree certificate. So next is lifestyle and culture. So it's a fast life. So you might have heard of the word palli palli. Palli palli means fast fast. So in Korea, especially in Seoul, which is a metropolitan city, it is the capital, right? So they have this palli palli culture where people have like very short time available. So they have to make all the things go very quickly. Suppose you are waiting in a line to order a coffee also. That time also you have to be fast. If there is a line behind you, so you have to make the order quick. You cannot just stand there and keep thinking, oh my God, today I feel like having this and that. That's not the case. You have to move fast while getting into the bus, while getting into the subway, everywhere. While even walking on the street, you have to go extremely fast, because if you're slow and all, people might just push you and go in a crowded street. So that is the fast culture. Other than that, the fast culture also applies to the government work, the admission work, everywhere. If there is a deadline given to you, you have to complete the work, or you have to submit your documents at that given time. If that time is gone, they don't make any exceptions. So that's why you have to be very quick and you have to be always on time for meetings, for your classes, everywhere. Time is a very important factor, and Koreans are extremely disciplined, so they follow it very well. Then there is people's attitude. So now people's attitude towards foreigners, it can be conceived as a little rude because they have this very plain face when you see them, because they don't know the foreign languages very well. They are very good at Korean, but they don't even know basic English. So if you go and talk to them, they might get a little scared. So they might come off as rude. But if you talk to them slowly in English, and if you know the language, that is like the best thing. They will help you till the end. You have to just tell them, you have to just communicate with your actions, or you can use those translation apps. And when you communicate with them, they will make sure that you are being helped. So I'll give you an example of what happened with me. So before going to study in Korea for 1.5 months, I went to travel over there. So I was not at all fluent in the language. I just knew very basic things like ego odieo, like where is this and where is that, like very basic things. Ego isoyo, do you have this? So when I knew like basic, like 2, 3 words, that time I went and I was lost. I wanted to go to a restaurant, but I was just not finding it. I was looking at the maps, but I was just not able to find the restaurant. So I went to a lady and I asked her, Ego odieo. So she was not able to tell me like properly in English. So what she did, she held my hand and she took me to the place. Like she was going some other direction, but she held my hand. She took me to the place. She showed me this picture. Sorry, this picture, this place. And I said, thank you. And then she said, bye-bye. And she went. So people are very helpful. It's just that you have to be very slow while communicating so they understand what you're talking about. Then there is convenience. So Korean people, they make your life very comfortable, very convenient for you. So they have these, for example, like travel, they have these travel cards. So you can see in the picture, these are the T-money cards. So these are available for foreigners, and you can just charge it as and when you need it. And you just tap it when you get on a train, you get on a bus, or sometimes there are these cycles also which you can rent. Over there also, a few companies, you can just tap the card. Even while taking the taxis, you can tap the card. So this one card can be used for a lot of purposes. And even in convenience stores, when you're going to a convenience store, you want to buy something, and if your card has that amount, you can just tap your card and you can buy the stuff. Other than that, also a lot of things are like very convenient in Korea, like your food and everything. When you get a takeaway or something, so they give you all the utensils, and sometimes like it is difficult, right? So they pack small things for every single person. So if you tell that we are 2 people, so they'll not give like a big box of, suppose, side dishes. They will give small boxes so that per person you can have one box. Or the utensils and all, everything they keep very convenient for your use. Then there is housing. So housing in Seoul is a little expensive. Being a metropolitan city, it is like Mumbai. In Mumbai also the rate of houses are so high, but compared to Pune, like if you compare it to Pune, Pune is really not that expensive. In few areas it is cheaper also. But in Seoul, the whole of Seoul, it is very expensive. Plus, because Korea is a small country, the size of the houses are also quite small. And they have these concepts like 1 room, 2 room, apart, villa. Okay, so 1 room is like you have only 1 room. In that you'll have kitchen, you'll have your desk, and you'll have your cupboard, everything in 1 room. And there's a bathroom attached. That's it. And these are for students or working professionals who come from different cities and they cannot afford a big house. They come and live in 1 room. Then there is 2 room. So in 2 room also there's like a passage, a kitchen, a small room, and a big room. So they don't have a different living room. That is 2 room. And then there is apatto. Apatto is apartment. So it's like a basic apartment, like 2 BHK apartment. There you'll have living rooms and all that. And then villa is also like, it's like a bungalow but in an apartment. It's like that. It's called villa. Okay, so over here for housings, if you're looking for a house, you have to go to these people called the Budong-sans, which are the realtors. So Budong-san, there are a lot of Budong-sans over there, and you just go to the office and you tell them the requirement. that this is the amount of deposit, like the deposit amount, and this is the rent amount. And please find this house for me. So they'll give you options. So this sometimes they have it on their laptop or computer, they'll show it to you. And once you finalize that I want to see this house, this is good, then they take you to the house. In their vehicle, they'll take you. If it's close, they'll take you walking. But if it's far away, then they will take you in their vehicle. And it is made convenient for you to see the house. So they'll talk to the landlord and everything. And you can sign a contract for house in one day. So you can move in immediately also. Like suppose I get a good house today, I can immediately move in tomorrow. So it's that simple process. But finding a house in Seoul is a little difficult because of the prices, and a lot of people try to migrate to Seoul. Like in India, how a lot of people, they want to go to like Mumbai because they say it's the city of dreams and all that. So like that, Seoul is considered the city of dreams for everyone. And they have these big companies like Samsung, SK, LG, then Kia, everything big, huge companies are there in Seoul. So that's why everybody wants to migrate to Seoul. So there are these few months in which it's difficult to get a house, like very difficult. So for me, when I went, I had to find a house for 1.5 months. So for 1.5 months, I did not have a house. I went there. I stayed at two Airbnbs first, and then there was a very nice Indian family over there who was there for 22 years, and they let me stay with them. So I was staying with them for 1 month, and they helped me also with housing and all. So I had to get up every day in the morning. I used to go looking for houses in each different area of Seoul. And that one good thing about that is I got to know Seoul very well. So if anybody asks me, oh, have you seen this place? Oh, I know it's in this area. Oh, yeah, you can just take this line, take this bus, and you'll reach that place. So that was a good thing. But other than that, it was really difficult to find in my budget, because there were good houses, but then it goes again above the budget, right? You're a student, you don't want to spend that much. You're already spending on expenses like your electricity, your food, and the tuition fee, everything you're spending. So you don't want to go above a certain limit, right? So that's why if you want to buy houses, there are these apps also like Chickbang, Thabang, and there's Naver, Budongsan. All these apps also you can see online, and online only you can contact the realtor. You don't need to step out of the house also. It's made that convenient for you. And once the house is like good, like you can go and see, he'll text you and you just go to the house and he'll show you around. So it's that easy. Then costing and money. So won is the currency of Korea, right? 1 rupee is equal to 16 won. So while thinking like this, we see, oh, 16 won. So that means Korea will be cheaper. But in reality, Korea has a very high standard of living. So over there, even though 1 rupee 16 won, you don't get anything for below 500 won. And even for 500 won, you'll get like one mask, the disposable one or something, you'll get for 500 won. But other than that, there is nothing like for 100 won, say, or like 10 won. You don't get anything. If you want to have like a proper meal, one-time meal, in Seoul, you have to at least pay around 5,000 won. There's a food called kimbap. Has anybody heard of kimbap? It's like a seaweed roll, right? So it's a seaweed roll that is like a very basic dish. It's the cheapest dish in Korea, and it is like fulfilling. So if you have one kimbap, you can like say that I have had a fulfilling meal. So the kimbap, when I first went for vacation, it used to be around 3,000 won. But now they have increased it to 7,000 won in Seoul, 7,000 to 8,000 won. So now because of that, the basic cost for one meal has increased from 3,000 to 7,000. In some places, you still get like 5,000 won, but in general, it's around 7,000 to 8,000 won, right? And then again, there are these good restaurants where you have to pay 11,000 won or 15,000 won. It depends on where you're going. So the basic, like normal restaurant is called a kimbap chip. So in kimbap chip, you get very basic food and it's like proper like rates where it's not very expensive to have a meal. So they have rice for you, they have noodles, they have kimbap, they have these meatballs and all that, everything. So if you want to have like a cheap but good fulfilling meal, you have to go to a kimbap chip. Okay. Then there is the ARC. ARC is the short form for Alien Registration Card. So if you're going to stay in Korea for more than 3 months, this is the alien registration card which you have to do. It's called the 외국인 등록증. 외국인 is foreigners and 등록증 is registration. 등록 registration and 증 is card. Okay, so for foreigners, you have to make this card if you're going to live for more than 3 months. So the conditions for applying for a 외국인 등록증 is that you have to have a proper place to live. You need to have a contract. Or if you're going to stay in a Koshivon is like sort of hostels, but they have their own kitchen and bathroom inside only. And if you're staying in a hostel with your university, then they have a document for you which states that you are living at this place. So if you have that, you can apply for a residency card. So in my case, I did not have a place to live for 1.5 months. So I was not able to apply for this card. And the maximum time that you can stay in Korea without applying for a 외국인 등록증, an ARC, is 3 months. If you cross 3 months, you become an illegal immigrant. And then you can be deported back to your country. So it is very important to have a place to stay. And even if you are staying with one of your relatives or someone you know, your friends, so you have to have this document you have to get it signed from the person with whom you're staying, and like how you don't need to pay them and everything. That document is there, everything is given. Even if you submit that, you can get your 외국인 등록증. And once you have that, even though like you go back to your country and come back several times, you don't need to have like a constant renewal of visa. Once you're done with the 외국인 등록증, sometimes it's depending on your visa. It can be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. So in that period of time, you can go to your country or you can go to some other country and come back to Korea any number of times. So it's very important to have this card, and you cannot misplace it. It's like very important. And if you misplace it, making it again is going to be a very big headache for you. And then there is insurance and medical services. So insurance is like a compulsory thing that you have to do. And insurance also, the amount, it depends from person to person. So for students, it's around 75,000 won, which is around 4,000 something rupees. And it is compulsory for every student, every immigrant, so every native person also to pay. So you can maximum for 2 months, it's okay if you don't pay. But after that, if you don't pay, then it can create a lot of problems, because Korea is a very disciplined country, as I told you, and they keep track on you. So everything is connected to your ARC, everything, your insurance and every single thing you do, it is connected to your ARC. And in your ARC, if you don't pay, then again, it will be noted that this person has not paid the insurance for this amount of time. And if you still keep on repeating the same thing, then the officials will contact you and there will be a huge case and a huge problem for you. And it will come like as a problem when you want to extend your visa. Suppose you're staying for 2 years as a student, and now you have to change your visa, right? The D2 visa is for students, and the D10 visa is for the students who change it, like who want to work, right? So when you have you want to go to a D10 visa, they will see all your history that is connected to your 외국인 등록증, your ARC. And that time, if you have not paid the insurance, then again, they'll create a problem. So it will not go as easy as you want it to go. So that's why paying the insurance is very important. And again, like insurance and ARC are again related to housing, because unless you have an ARC, you cannot apply for the insurance. And for the insurance, you need housing. So it's indirectly connected, insurance and housing. And now the medical services. So for medical services, you can go to the doctors and all, and because you have an insurance, you don't have to pay the full amount. 70% of the amount is paid by the government itself. So only 30% you have to pay on your own, right? So for other things also, like your medicines also, you have to just give them your ARC. They'll put in the number and directly the price will be reduced, 70% reduced. But so the thing over here is the Korean clinics are closed on Saturdays and Sundays. and only the emergency rooms are open. And for emergency, you have to almost pay 10 times of what you pay normally. Because in emergency rooms, your insurance does not work. If it's an emergency, then your insurance will not cover it. And for your dental services also, the insurance is not applicable. So that's why you have to be very careful. Like if you uh like have a feeling on Friday that no, something is wrong, I'm not feeling well. So you should go to the clinic Friday itself. If you go on a Sunday, it is going to be closed and it's going to be super expensive. So let me tell you about my example. So I was working at a place and over there I lifted a very heavy box and I got a muscle pull. And it was like okay that day, but the next day it started paining a lot to an extent that I was not able to walk, I was not able to sit up, like it was paining a lot. So I went to the emergency room because the clinics are closed. So they are like, I went there and they told me that if you want to go to the emergency room, you have to pay around 10,000 rupees for just a painkiller injection. They were not even going to do the treatment, or because the on Sunday, the emergency room was so busy that they said that we don't think that the doctor will be able to see you. So the injection they can give, but it will cost me around 10,000 rupees. So I was like, it is too expensive. So I just took like a painkiller medicine from like what I had from India. And the next day on Sunday, I went and it didn't even cost me 1,000 rupees for consultation, medicine, and X-ray and the painkiller injection separately. So it was like around 10 times more than what I paid on the next day, which was covered in the insurance. So that's why when you're coming from India to South Korea, over there in the pharmacies also, like you can get basic medicines for like cough and cold or something is itching in your throat. But like the painkillers and all specifically, you might not get it. They will ask you for prescriptions from the doctor. And it's not just a written prescription like we have in India, right? There is a letterhead and you write the prescription and there's a sign. It's like a proper printed document with the stamp of the clinic and everything. So that's why if for small things like you have a stomach ache or something, so it is good to carry your own medicines from India for small things so that you don't have to bother going to the medical so pharmacy or the clinic. All right. Then the next one is safety. So Korea is one of the safest countries in the world. Like a girl can travel at 3 o'clock at night alone and nothing will happen. It does not mean that you just have to, like, you cannot go without being careful. You have to be careful, definitely. But it is a very safe country. So like over here in the picture also, you can see there's a laptop. It's left on a table, right? And people have gone out. So it is that safe. So I have seen this culture. I have also done this that when students are studying in cafes, they study for a long time, right? 4, 5 hours. So while studying, suddenly you feel hungry, right? So what people do, they leave their laptop, they leave their bags and everything. They just take their wallet and their cell phone and they go to a restaurant, they have food and they come back and start working again. And all their belongings are just the way they are. They are they are not touched or anything. So my friend, she lost her bank card around 7 times, but nothing has ever happened. So if your card is fallen on the street, nobody will touch it unless like you come back after a very long time. So they'll clean the street. So that time it will be gone. But if you forgot it and after like 3, 4 hours, you're like, oh shit, I forgot my card over here. Then you can go back and you can just find it and you can take it. So no one touches your stuff over there. It's like a very safe country, but still you have to take your precautions. You have to make sure that nothing bad happens to you. You have to be careful on your side also, but other than that you can just like be at ease when you're out in Korea. So I was around 20 years when I went to Korea for the first time alone. I was traveling for 1.5 months. So I went to a lot of different cities, and at in the morning I used to go, like I went for vacation, right? So I used to go in the morning. I used to come back at night. So the buses sometimes they would be empty and all, but it never felt unsafe. It is like a very safe environment. And then there is the police is very fast. So if you directly, there's 911. in Korea. So if you call them, sorry, it's 119. If you call them in Korea, they will immediately send help. So they are like very fast. The police and the system is very fast. So immediately they'll send you help. And on streets also, when you're walking, there are these light bulbs, right? Over there, they have this button. It's called a safety button. So it's called Pisangpil in Korea, safety button. So you just press it, and from the nearest police station, the patrolling car will be there within like 2-3 minutes. It's very fast. So you can be very at ease when you're going around in Korea. Then there are the beauty standards. So you might have seen this person. He's a very famous Korean actor, and he is considered as the most good-looking person in Korea, right? So they have in Korea this flawless skin is the beauty standard. So there is nothing on your skin. It's like clear. And to get that skin, people do a lot of treatments. They use a lot of beauty products. So there is this shop called Olive Young in Korea, which is like similar to what we have in India called Nykaa. Okay. So like Nykaa, but on a very big scale. It is like almost everywhere. Like in some places in same area. Suppose on this side of the road there is Olive Young, and on the other side of the road also there's one more Olive Young. So there are a lot of Olive Youngs, and they have almost for every skin concern they have products, and not only one brand. They have 10 different brands for the same thing. So they have treatments also. They have these serums, and they have the essence, they have the mask, and if you have heard of Riedel shot, it's like the micro needling thing. So that also they have. So they have for every skin concern, for every hair concern, they have all the products. They have these makeup products, and everything is there. Plus, additional to that, they have these beauty clinics. Over there, you get Botox, you get laser, you get lifting, you get toning, and like hundreds of different treatments are available over there. So I used to work in a Korean skin clinic. I worked there for around a month, and on the weekends, there were around 200 people who used to come on weekends. Like one day, Saturday 200, Sunday 200 or more. So people over there are so fascinated, like having a beautiful, flawless skin, that they go to that extent to do the treatments. And not only Koreans, but a lot of foreigners also used to come. So suppose they are going to have a Asia trip, they will specifically make a halt in South Korea just to get that treatment done. So most of the customers that I interacted with, those people, while going back to their country, they used to get these treatments done. So that when they go back, because it takes some time to recover. For few treatments, it takes 3 weeks. For few, it takes 1 week. So that's why while going back, they used to do this treatment. And after you do the treatment, the skin looks very different. Like it's swollen, it's red. Then sometimes if you have Botox, then they have these small pimple sort of things on your face. But after a week, oh, the type of skin you get, like you can see in the picture, the skin this girl has, like that, you get that beautiful skin. So that's why they specifically make a halt while going back to get this treatment done. And one more thing about Korea is that uh, while going out for work or while going out to meet people, usually the girls specifically, guys also sometimes, but girls usually do makeup and go out to meet someone. And it's like every day they do makeup. So that's why the makeup in Korea is very safe, because it is made for daily wear, right? And the reason behind is now they're used to this thing, but we on our part, we think like, oh my God, so much pressure and everything. But for them, it is like if you're going to meet someone, right? So if you do makeup and you go and meet that person feels, oh, I am so important for that person, that that person has taken efforts to look good to come and meet me. Even like when going for a meeting, you go very well dressed, your hair is done properly, you have done like proper makeup and all. That shows that you're actually giving importance to that meeting. If you just go like that, like you're dressed casual or something, and your hair is not done properly, it's like a messy bun or something, people will think that, oh my God, they are just looking down on us. They don't think that we are that important. Why haven't they dressed up properly? So they consider it rude, that they are being looked down on. So that's why if you're going for a meeting or if you're going to meet someone new, you have to do like proper makeup. When I was working in a beauty clinic, I used to wear a mask. right? But still, I was asked to do makeup and to like properly pin up my hair and all. So I am just working there, right? But still, I had to follow the protocol, and that because it's like it shows how much effort you're putting, how much interested you are in the work, and how much you're giving importance to your clients and everything. So that's why it is important. Still, it is important, but sometimes it can be a little suffocating if you get caught up in the cycle. You should just know when to stop. You should not get like carried away in that beauty standard that without doing makeup, you cannot step off, out of the house, right? Okay. So now the importance of knowing the language. So Koreans, as I told you, the English they speak is very different. How is the same words, but they have a Korean accent to it. So like if you say cake, they say cake, right? It's the same thing, cake and cake. So if you go and tell them, can I have a cake? They'll not understand. What are you saying? What is cake? If you say cake, they'll understand. So it is the English word, but it has a Korean accent to it, right? So that is the level of English understanding amongst the Koreans. So that's why if you know the proper Korean language, not only the English words, but the whole language, it will be easier for you to go about with your life. So like I mentioned earlier, those kimbap chips, right? Those kimbap chips are run by old ajummas, right? Ajumma is like a old lady. So it's run by them and they are not at all good at English. Still in in Seoul, you'll find people who can communicate in English a little. But if you go to some other cities, like if you go to Daejeon or if you go to Jeonju, so all these small towns, they don't have a lot of people who speak English. And the ajumas, especially elderly people, they really don't understand at all. But if you know the language and you communicate with them properly, it will be so much easier for you. Like they get so happy. Like even if you say, please give me this, please give me that, they will be so happy. They will give you free dishes on the house. Like I have experienced this a lot of times. Like when, especially not in Seoul, but when you go to some small towns and they see foreigners talking in Korean, they get so happy. They'll come and sit on your table and they'll start talking to you. They'll be like, "Oh, so where are you from? Oh, how is life over there? And what are you doing? How do you know Korean?" Like they will have a big conversation with you about your life. So like they are very friendly people when you know the language because they can't speak English, so they cannot connect with you. So if you know the language, living in Korea becomes very easy for you for ordering food or anything, and even for government work. So government work is mostly in Korean. A few documents you can get in English, but mostly it's in Korean. So if you know Korean, so even though the document is in Korean, the person who you're dealing with might not know that level of English. Because I have experienced this people working in the department for foreigners also don't know the language sometimes. So like I for a phone company, I was getting something done. I think terminating the Wi-Fi contract, I think. So while talking to them, I contacted on the line for foreigners. But still the person, he was so confused. So I'm like, okay, I'll talk to you in Korean. So he was so relieved that, oh my God, thank God, Korean, I can tell you now what to do. So you press this, you do this and this and this, and it's done. So that's why you have to know for government work also. And then making friends. So if you go to any country, you can live there alone, but it's not that much fun, right? You have to make friends. You have to know people. You'll have so much different exposure. You'll get to know about their culture. They can know about our culture and all. So over there, making foreigner friends is easier than making Korean friends if you don't know the language. But if you know the language, you can make other country friends also, and you can make Korean friends also. So you have an advantage at both the things. And also, the East Asian people over there, like China, Vietnam, Japan, all of them, they are also very weak at English language. And for them, because I think the structure of the sentence or some similarities in the culture, they find learning Korean easier than English. So that's why if you talk to them in Korean, they will understand you better because their Korean is better than their English. So that's why if you want to make a lot of friends, you can know the language and it will help you like wonders. You can make a lot of friends, and then through these friends also you learn a lot about the language. So if you make Korean friends, they will teach you the slangs, right? So these slangs, when you're learning from a textbook, you don't get to know these slangs, right? So now, for example, namsachin. Anybody heard of namsachin? So namja chingu is boyfriend, right? Namja, boy, chingu, friend. But sometimes you have to refer to a friend who is a guy, right? Your guy friend. So they say namsachin. Namja, nam, saram, sa, chingu, chin. So damsachin is damja, saram, chingu. A guy who is a friend, not a boyfriend. So like these slangs, you can get to know this only through local people when you have Korean friends. And for having Korean friends, it's very important to know the language. And main thing, even if you know the language, you have to be confident enough. So even if you make a mistake, so I had this perception like when I went there initially for vacation, I was like, oh my God, what if I say this wrong? Oh my God, what will that person think? They might get angry, they'll get offended. I should not talk in Korean. So I knew a little Korean, but I was very hesitant to say. But then when I went for studying, I used to talk, even though I make some mistake. People used to be like, oh no, they used to just laugh and they're like, no, no, it's like this. So they don't get offended. They feel very grateful that you've come to their country, you're learning their language, and you're talking to them in their language. So they find it very, they find like it's a respect shown to them. So that's why they don't get angry. Rather, they help you with the language. If you go wrong, they'll be like, no, no, it's okay. Don't worry. It is very good. You can like just correct this much part, and rest everything is good. Very good. So it is very nice to know the language when living in Korea. So now precautions. What not to do when you go to Korea. So no tipping. In Korea, it is not considered very good to tip someone. It is very disrespectful towards the person who is working. So whatever is like suppose kimbap 5,000 won. So in that 5,000 won, everything is included. Taxes, everything is included in that 5,000 won. So whenever you're given in any restaurant, when there is a price given to you, it is inclusive of all the tax and everything. You don't need to give any money separately. Okay. So, and also while doing a payment in Korea, everywhere you have card payments except for the street vendors, right? In taxi also you can pay by card, and like in most of the restaurants also you can pay by card. Normally, Koreans prefer the card payment method, or like we have in India, Google Pay, they have a option called Kakao Pay. So Kakao Pay also you can use. People are they prefer cashless over there, unless you're at a street vendor who don't have the what do you say, the machine to swipe the card, but they do have Kakao Pay, or you can do a transfer to them. But if you're a foreigner, you don't have an account, right? You're not a foreigner, actually, a traveling foreigner. You don't have a account, right? So that time you need to carry cash. If you're a foreigner staying for a long term, then you have the account and you have the Kakao Pay, everything set up. So that time you don't need cash, right? But when you're traveling, you don't have an account. For recharging your T-Money cards also, the transport cards, you need cash. Because over there, if you give cash, then you can like make the transaction. You cannot do it with a card. But other than that, everywhere you can use the card. Okay. Then there is the physical contact precaution. Over there, Koreans are not very touchy people unless you get to know them very well. Okay. If it's a very close friend of yours, then you can like make a physical contact with them. You can like touch them, or high five is like okay, you can do it if they're little close also. But otherwise, you bow. Okay. If you are at a meeting or if you're meeting someone new, you bow. And while leaving also, you don't hug them. You just bow and then you leave. You don't even do handshake. You just bow. When you get to know someone and you're like very close to each other, then you can be like very close to them. So once you get close to your friends and all, they'll like lock hands with you and then they'll push you like this while laughing and everything. That is done when you're very close. But other than that, if you go and you touch someone, or if you're like also like how we do shabash, something like that, you cannot do to them. They will be very they'll be like, what is this person doing? Why is he touching me unnecessarily? Is he a psychopath or something? Like that weird thoughts they'll have in their mind. So that's why no physical contact unless you actually are very close to that. Okay. Then text proof. It is very important. Text proof, I mean that when you're suppose signing a contract for your house, whatever conversation you have it in written format, any written format, mail, Kakao Talk, text, or like written on a paper signed by that person. Anything, have it with you, like a proof that later on, if that person says that no, I didn't mean this, I didn't mean that, then you can just show, no, you have said this, you have said that. Because sometimes because of the language barrier, it happens that I'm trying to say something to you, but that person is not understanding what I'm trying to say. So in that case, having a text proof is also important. Sometimes it not be like a scam, but it can be a misunderstanding, right? It's not a scam necessarily, but because of the language barrier, it can be a problem for us because Koreans, it's their country, right? It will not be a problem for them anyway. It will be a problem for us foreigners. So having it in writing is a big advantage. Like I have learned from my experience how having a text proof is very important. That that's why I like to pass it on to anyone who is like thinking of going to Korea or settling there for some time or work, education, anything. Have everything in text. It will help you a lot, right? Then we have food precautions for vegetarians. Okay. So this meal over here, it is a completely vegetarian meal. This is rice. Then this is like different type of vegetables, and this is the sprout soup. Okay. Bean sprout soup, and all different vegetables are there. And this is also a vegetable kimchi. And you just have to do that, take these whichever vegetables you like, you can put it in the bowl. You can put this kimchi or you can have it separately. And they give you this sauce called gochujang. It's a chili sauce. You put it in it, you mix it, and you have it. Okay. It's just very simple meal. So for vegetarians, you have to make sure when you go there and you ask for a meal, you have to make sure there is no meat, there is no seafood, and there is no egg. Okay. This is called Cheshik Umshik. That is vegetarian food. Because if you go and ask them that there is no meat in this food, right? So they will be like, yeah, there is no meat. They will not think about egg and they will not think about seafood. You just ask about meat. So they'll make sure that there is no pork, there is no beef, there is no chicken, or there is no mutton in the food if you say meat, right? So you have to make sure all the things are not there. If you're a complete vegetarian, you can say egg, kheran, then you can say kogi, that is meat, and hesanmul, that is seafood. You have to make sure all the three things are not there. And you have to also make sure that in the broth, okay, in the cooking broth also, sometimes it might be like chicken broth or beef or pork, whatever broth. You have to ask them. There are a few vegan restaurants now because a lot of foreigners are coming to Seoul especially. So that's why in Seoul you can find vegetarian places, vegan places over there. But if you generally walk into a restaurant, then you have to ask for all of these things plus the broth. Is it vegetarian? Is it a vegetable broth? Then you can have. So few things which don't have anything non-veg in them is bibimbap is there. You get a pure veg bibimbap also. Then there is tteokbokki. Tteokbokki are just rice cakes, so they don't have anything. Then there is kimchi chon. Kimchi chon has only kimchi. It's like a pancake, kimchi pancake. And kimbap also, you get vegetarian kimbap. You have to say yache kimbap. So over there, it's just seaweed roll. There is rice and vegetables in between, and it's rolled up. Okay, these are a few vegetarian options. Okay, and then you have pastas. If you go for pastas or sandwiches, then you can get vegetarian options also. Pastas and pizza, you might and sometimes might not get, but Subway you definitely get. So all these joints, they have sometimes vegetarian, but McDonald's, Burger King, all those joints, they don't have a vegetarian option. So you have to just look around, like what is there in veg. So veg people have a hard time. Like my mom, when she visited me, she's a pure vegetarian. So for her, finding food was little difficult because I had also just went to Korea and she came, I think, after 2 months. And for her, we had to really look on the internet, like where is vegetarian food. Then we can give her tteokbokki. Then bibimbap also, some places they were like, we don't have a vegetarian bibimbap. So we went and we are like to a place where bibimbap is vegetarian. So mostly you get a vegetarian bibimbap, but some places they don't have this option. They have to again make sure that bibimbap vegetarian is there. Then at the end. So now for me, I was there for 2 years for education, and after that I came back over here. So when coming back, the ARC, right, the alien registration card, is supposed to be deposited at the airport. When you're coming back, there's the immigration counter, right? Over there, you have to tell them that I'm going to leave Korea for good, and this is my ARC, right? So over here, ARC has an expiration date, but that date, even though the date is there, even though like the time period is over, you have to submit the card. Okay, it comes in your record. When will it be a problem when you want to come back to Korea, even as a tourist? They will charge you around 1.5 lakh rupees as a fine when you're coming back to Korea, and they won't let you, even though you get your visa, you're at the airport, at the immigration counter, about to enter Korea, they will ask you to pay the fee. Otherwise, you won't be able to enter Korea. You'll have to go back to your country. So that will be a problem if you don't deposit the ARC. And if sometimes, like some people, they don't know this and they are like, oh, it's like a souvenir. I lived in Korea. I want to keep it with myself. And they take it home, right? One of my friends, she was from Vietnam. So she took it with her because she didn't know about this rule. So she had to go to the consulate. She had to do the fees thing. She had to get it cancelled. She has to deposit. And it was like a big headache for her to like get rid of that card because she now wants to come back to Korea again, but it is causing her a problem because she did not submit it that time. But now the problem is resolved. But it is good to like just submit it and go. It'll be easier for you to come back the next time. Right? So this was all for my experience in Korea. I also have a few videos. If we have time, can I show them at least one? Is it okay?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just a second. So,
Did you went to Korea for learning?
I went 2 years back, 2022 end, 23 start. I went that time. So, over there in universities, every university have a festival for 3 days where they invite the celebrities to perform for the students. So, if you have heard of the girl group G Idol, they had come to my university to perform. So, I want to show you how the atmosphere was over there. Can you see?
We're not able to hear, but we can see.
You cannot hear?
No, but it's okay. I guess, like, but we get an idea.
Yeah, so this was the concert. And then the whole university on the Founders Day, they went for a trek. So all the departments, they had this particular like t-shirt color and they used to go for trek. So this was my department. They provide you with lunch, food, everything. You just have to go. And also, this was the area where I used to live. And if you know a few celebrities also that I saw, do you know Chaonu? He's a very famous Korean actor and a singer also. So me and my friend, we were going through this place called Songsu, and suddenly we saw a lot of people over there, and we went and we asked. So he was visiting that place for an event. So this is Chaonu. And BTS J-Hope was also there. So this is him. So we saw him and Chaonu go inside for the venue and come back. So this was very crowded, this place. Uh, And these are like the photo booths over there. Very famous. I think you might have seen. So different themes are there. And you can go to any one and you can just click a picture over there. And during summers, Hangang, the Han River, a lot of people go there for picnic during summers. So this is how it looks. Yes, that is it. Thank you so much.